Hey everybody, this is my 40 breeder, and tonight I'm going to get in there and do some kind of work. I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. This is going to be a simple before and after video, so we're going to get a good look at the before, and I really honestly don't know what to tell you to expect for the after. I'm honestly just shooting this to get it on video. I'm not getting ready to do the work right now, but later this evening I'm going to be down here tinkering around. And if I get in the mood to do something in here, I want to be able to just do it rather than having to shoot video and all that stuff. So I'm getting that part out of the way now, and then that way later when I get in there, as I said, I can just do whatever I want, and then we'll get to see the after later. So the very minimum I need to do is a water change. I need to get the glass wiped down. I really need to change the filter tonight. That is definitely on my agenda to get that done. And then I'll get in there and I'll gravel vac as much as the crud and stuff out of there as I can. Of course, I can only get to a very limited amount of it in this tank. I have so much decor and rocks and everything. You have no idea. You can't even see all of the rocks and everything that are in the back. A ton of the plants need to come out of there or get trimmed back or something. But this tank's been pretty much like this since I set it up years ago. This was the very first tank I ever really sat down and thought about what I wanted the structure to look like, the color of the rocks, the lines of the wood, you know, where everything was positioned. I spent quite a while setting this tank up, and I've never changed it. It's looked like this pretty much since day one. A few plants came and went in the early years, but it just sort of settled in eventually to looking like this, and I've never really done anything to it, and honestly I've never really wanted to do anything to it, and I still don't. But, you know, whether I want to do anything to it or not is kind of beside the point. I kind of need to. I really do need to get in there and thin out that vegetation a little bit. It's getting kind of out of control. But, as I said, I don't know. We'll see. I'm really not, you know, gearing you up to expect anything on the other side of this video. It's just going to be some kind of water change, and we'll at least have some clean glass and fresh water and everything in there. And who knows, maybe I'll have done something else. So, there you go. There's your before. And there's your after. So I did lie about the filter. I did not change the filter, but that's because I got busy doing other stuff and the day got away from me, and it is now much later than I expected it to be. And you can probably tell we just got finished the water change a few minutes ago. You can still see the bubbles are all in the tank. And my Dwarf Pike Cichlid is hiding in her cave down there in the bottom. So a couple of things sort of unexpected about this tank. One is how few fish I still have in there. This is one of those tanks I just really kind of don't pay a lot of attention to anymore. And little by little, I've found a dead fish here and found a dead fish there. They get lost in the weeds, literally. I'll find a skeleton on the bottom, or I'll find a, you know, the barely there remains of some fish when I'm doing a water change or something will be swirling around in the current once I disturb the plants enough. So over time, the population of fish in this tank has just dwindled. My main Dwarf Pike Cichlid is still in there. I think she's actually hiding. Oh no, that's one of my Siamese algae eaters. So the Siamese algae eaters are doing okay. The Dwarf Pike Cichlid is doing okay. There she is. So she's still doing good. I'm down to 2 Raspora hets, it looks like. They've been in there for several years, and they've just sort of dwindled over time. My rainbow fish are down to 2, and I've had a lot of people tell me that those Australian rainbow fish don't seem to last very long, and that has certainly been my experience. Maybe that's why they're $3 rainbow fish at the PetSmart rather than, you know, $15 rainbow fish that you get elsewhere. So I don't know, but this tank really is down to very few fish in it, and so we've got potential at some point in the future, depending on how, you know, businesses are going to go and whatnot. I don't really know what's going to go on with pet stores and fish stores and stores that have live animals in them, and how much, you know, going out and shopping I'm going to be doing anytime in the near future. So I'm not talking about soon, but hopefully once the world gets back on track, we will be getting some new fish going on in this tank. The other thing I found so fascinating about this tank was the sheer volume of mulm and crud and so on and so forth that was collected in here. I mean, it was packed in here. I got down into the yeah, you can still see a lot of it. I did my best to get it out without really destroying the plants, but I did break up the plants a little bit. I should have actually gotten in there and gotten this broken stem I didn't even notice that until just a few minutes ago. But I can pull that out, whatever, no biggie. But all of this area had a bunch of crud in it. Back there, that area was sort of set up to be a collection area where I could then get my gravel vac down in there and pull some of that crud out. But over time, it's gotten populated with plants, and so that was just full of crud. It was like almost like gray mats of stuff was coming up with it. Over here was the same story. You couldn't even see the gravel anymore. It was just like this thick gray mat that just broke up into pieces and clumps all through. My crypt here was the same way. You can see how it's kind of smashed down. It looks like I've been rooting through the weeds. I kind of was. I was using the gravel vac to do that. So I removed a tremendous amount of crud and grossness out of this tank, and it actually looks a lot better for it. I did wipe the glass down, but as I said, it's getting kind of late, so I didn't worry about doing the water change. In fact, I wasn't even going to do anything. I was going to put it off till tomorrow, but I decided that I've been putting it off so long that I was at least going to do the water change, even if I didn't do anything with the filter tonight. And I did that because I assumed my nitrates were going to be through the roof on this tank with all that crud in there, and for as long as it's been, honestly, since I've done a water change on this tank. And I got to thinking, I wonder, you know, the fish population is dwindling. There's a lot of plants in there. They're all slow-growing plants, I'll give you that. But there is a lot of plants in there, so I wonder what the nitrates actually would look like in this tank. And so I tested them and was stunned to see that they're under 40 parts per million. If nitrates alone were the only reason I was going to do a water change, then I wouldn't even have needed to do a water change on this tank. We're probably maybe getting up towards 40 parts per million, 30 parts per million. It's definitely above 20, but it's not yet that red color. It's still very definitely orange. And again, I honestly do not remember the last time I did a water change in this tank. I could probably go back on the playlist and see how long it's been, but I'm not that worried about it. Just assume it's been months. And the filter's been probably months before that since I've done anything with it. So, you know, with that very low stocking density, even all of that mulm in there breaking down, even all the stuff that's collected in the filter breaking down, the tank itself is dealing with a lot of that. Even the nitrates themselves are being, you know, absorbed up by the plants. This tank is so old and stable, and the gravel has settled in, that I may actually have some denitrifying effect going on in this tank. The gravel, the substrate I have in there, the planted substrate, really is sort of designed to be able to do that if you put it in there deep enough. And I've got it in this tank about 2.5 inches deep, so I might be getting a little bit of denitrifying going on, but I'm going to assume it's probably from the low bioload and the plants. Although I don't know how low the bioload, you know, how low can you call the bioload when the tank is just full of crud? It's not fish necessarily, but all that crud is still in there breaking down. All that mulm and all that just nasty detritus and stuff on the bottom. You know, I assume that that just continues to deteriorate and break down, and as long as that's in there doing that, it's producing more ammonia. And the ammonia is going to break down into nitrates, and, you know, regardless of the amount of fish, just, you know, if there was no fish in this tank, if there was just that much crud in this tank, I would assume that the cycle would continue. More ammonia would be produced and so on and so forth. So the backside of that should be a lot of nitrates, and I just don't have them. So they're going somewhere. They're either being absorbed by those plants, or they are being broken back down into nitrogen gas through the denitrification process, which, again, I don't know. I didn't set it up specifically to do that, but I suppose it's possible. Anyway, there you go. There is the before and after look at my 40 breeder. So we'll get in there one of these days and do a little more serious maintenance on it. We'll figure out something to do with all those plants or whatever. So thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you real soon on the next one.